Hey, how you guys doing? I just wanted to take a moment and talk to you guys about masks. So the first thing I want to say is that this is not a political post. This is a post about public health education. And so I understand that this topic is somewhat charged, and I just want to say that if this is something that you feel very strongly about and you can't understand that this is just about health education, then I just encourage you to move on. This post is not for you. But for everybody else, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about masks and wearing them. In my clinic, I do require that my patients wear masks during treatment, and one thing that I've noticed is that everybody's wearing them wrong. And a lot of people are complaining about how uncomfortable they are, and I think a lot of that can be mitigated with just some simple education and understanding about different types of masks and how they work. So that's what I would like to do today. Um, the reality is that for society to get back to some type of normal level of function, we will be wearing masks in public, and I do not see that changing for some time. So, better to just get to it, start wearing a mask, get a comfortable one that works well, and then I think you will realize that it's not that big of a deal. I do wear a mask at work every single day for up to 8 hours a day without taking it off. Yes, it's not my most favorite thing in the world, but it is something you get used to. And again, I think that if you understand a little bit more about the mask and how to get a comfortable one for you, that you'll mitigate some of that problem. So let's just first talk about the different types of masks that we have and understand a little bit about them. So the first one that we see a lot right now is a cloth mask. And the reason for that is because it is actually quite difficult to get medical grade masks right now. And that is initially why the CDC was recommending against wearing masks. There was a lot of concern about our first line health care providers being able to get proper protective masking, and so they just said, "Don't hoard masks. Don't get them." You all remember what happened with toilet paper, right? Same thing happened with masks, so it was pretty significant. And so at some point, the CDC changed its recommendation when they realized that cloth masks work well too, and you can make your own. So this is an example of a cloth mask. This is a really nice one. Someone made this for me, and it actually has filters inside, which is not necessary. Um, the downside to these types of masks are that they aren't custom fit, and so they don't usually fit people very well. And they also tend to be pretty thick. A lot of makers have added additional layers because we know that additional layers are helpful. But the problem is they're not very breathable. And so these are the ones that a lot of people are complaining are too uncomfortable, too warm. Uh, so a lot of times I see when people wear these, their nose their nose pops out of it, which is not acceptable. That defeats the purpose of the mask. So if it's really loose fit and their nose is hanging out of it, that's just really not going to work. And then other times they're just way too tight. Um, and the whole point is to be comfortable. So I've seen people wearing these cloth masks where when they're really loose and it's kind of slipping all over the place, they just take it down to talk, which again defeats the purpose entirely. So the one thing I do really like about these is that I've been seeing a lot of patients who have been having custom ones made, and they are very fashionable and make personal statements, which is cool. I've seen people match their outfits to them, and I've seen people have designs that are meaningful to them, and I think that definitely makes it a lot more fun, especially when this is not really that fun of a thing. So, if we got to do it, might as well have fun with it. So that's the plus side to these. Again, the downside is they're not custom fit and they tend to fall, slip, or they're just not very breathable if you have to wear it for a long period of time. In the short term, if you just have to run into the store or something, these are great. But if you have to do it all day or for, up to an hour, which some people don't really like, then I don't really recommend these ones. Um, this is what's called an N95 mask. These are really hard to get, and they're really expensive. And in all honesty, they're not necessary at all. They're necessary for a healthcare provider who is working with COVID positive patients. They offer a certain level of protection. Um, but they're not really necessary for anybody who's just in the general public and not exposed to COVID. These protect the wearer as well as the person they're interacting with, whereas all of the other masks just protect the person you're interacting with. So, because of how thick these are and the material that they're made of, they offer a level of protection to the wearer. And so that is helpful for, like I said, first line healthcare providers. But again, these are really hard to get. These are the ones that are we're having shortages of, and these are the ones that should be reserved for first line healthcare providers. Okay, I just have these from actually from the SARS pandemic. So um, so the good thing about these is they do offer protection to the wearer. So if you're someone who's immune compromised or you're really concerned about getting sick and you're in a situation that you really need to be cautious of, yeah, these are great if you can get them and you're not taking from someone who really needs one, like a first line healthcare provider. The downside to these is they are not very breathable. They are also very warm and uncomfortable. And so if you don't really need it, I wouldn't recommend these ones because these are definitely, this is what I wear at work just as an extra precaution because I interact with so many people. But it's hot, and if you talk, it's very muffled and it's hard for people to hear. So communication is somewhat difficult. Okay. On that note, I'd like to show you this one. I'm starting to see these in the clinic. This is also an N95, but I want to point out that it has a vent on it. So that makes these are actually more common because they use them as dust masks for construction workers. And so some people have been able to get these at like Home Depot or Lowe's. The downside to these is that they have a vent. So what that means is that the wearer is protected, but you are off gassing everything out of that vent. So it really does no protection for the other person. And the whole point of this is that we're trying to take care of each other and just keep our viral droplets to ourselves. So these are actually the only ones I was able to get for my work. And so what I actually do is I wear a mask over this one to block the vent. So if for some reason this is the only type of mask you can get, just be aware that with that vent, you're not really protecting anybody else. You're only protecting yourself. That's not cool. So if you don't need to wear these, I wouldn't recommend it. And again, some counties have even outlawed this because of this vent. It's not really doing anything, but you're going to see a lot of people wearing them, and they're actually not aware. So um, I think the best type of mask to wear, and this is the one that I use at work, is these 3-ply surgical masks. So this has 3 layers, and it's very comfortable and breathable. So you can wear this for a long period of time, and it doesn't really muffle your voice. You get a lot of airflow. There's actually research that shows that these are very efficient, and they do offer protection to the person you're interacting with because they're blocking your viral droplets, but they also have some level of protection for the wearer. And then again, if everybody's wearing a mask, it's your risk it decreases significantly. But these are the ones that I'm telling people who have a lot of complaints about wearing a mask and how hot and uncomfortable it is. These are really the ones you want to get, and you can actually get these pretty readily on Amazon or elsewhere. There's starting to be quite a few of these. So probably the last thing I should talk about is just how to wear a mask and maybe how to keep, handle and store a mask. I know there's some concerns about that. So with these ones, you actually want to wear the color side out. And then what I would just point out is that there is actually a piece of metal here. I don't know if you can see that's white strip. There's a piece of metal. That piece of metal, whatever type of mask you're wearing, goes around your over your nose. And then you pinch it gently to have a better fit. And then the other thing you can do is you can fan these ones so that you get more coverage. Okay. I've seen a lot of people wear them upside down, or I see them where they don't fan them out and they're just this, just like this, which I mean, it's fine. It's blocking your nose and your mouth, but it's not super comfortable. Okay. So make sure you wear it the right side up. The metal piece on any mask is always for the bridge of the nose. Okay, and even some of these cloth masks that people make them with a nose bridge. So that's the side that goes over your nose, and then make sure you get full coverage over your nose and your mouth. Um, some of the controversy over masks is people think that they pose a health risk for a variety of different reasons. And I don't want to debate that, but some of that can be mitigated just by handling your mask properly. So, first thing you should do is whenever you handle your mask, you need to wash your hands before you touch it. Or use hand sanitizer. And then when you do, whether you're taking it on or off, you just want to grab it by the sides only. Okay, you never want to touch the front of the mask. I've seen people touch their mask. They're wearing it on their chin. They stick their hands inside and touch the inside. Like, I mean, you're probably going to be okay. But when people start talking about bacteria and health risks of wearing masks, that's kind of where it comes from. A lot of people just don't handle their masks properly. They stick them in their pockets. They hang them on their rear view. All of it's fine, but there are better ways. So always wash your hands before handling your mask, whether you're taking it on or taking it off. And then there are a few different things, but I like to store mine in a Tupperware. So what I do is I have this Tupperware in my car, and I wash my hands. I put my mask on, and when I'm done, I wash my hands. I take it off, and I put it in the Tupperware with the colored side down, and then I just I let the ear loops hang out of it. Sorry, this is a new mask, so it's not formed very well. And then I put the lid over it and I snap it shut. And then that way there's no contamination as far as I'm always putting it with the colored side down. And you can do that with whatever type of mask you have. So, same thing. And I think that's pretty handy. The CDC actually recommends that you use a paper bag. So you could also use a plastic bag. In either case, if you're using a cloth mask or the blue surgical mask, and you're going to store it in a bag, whether that's a plastic bag or a paper bag, then you're supposed to fold the outside of the mask inward and then put it in the bag. Okay, and the reason for that, and so again, if I have my cloth mask, I'm going to fold it like this and then put it in. And the reason for that is because the part of the mask that gets the most action is the front of the mask, which is why we never want to touch the front of the mask. Okay, so if we want to try to decrease the risk of cross-contamination when we're storing our mask, we would fold that affected part inward to keep it kind of to itself. If you fold it the other way with the inside inward, that's fine, but you have to realize now that whatever container you put it in, you're getting it, contaminated with any bacteria, whether that's coronavirus or something else. So now anytime this goes in, now the bag has stuff on it, and if you don't do this consistently, you're going to end up cross-contaminating your mask. And then I guess one more thing is just like change your masks, wash them regularly, whether that's a hand wash, machine wash, or something. If you're using a paper mask like an N95 or the surgical mask, like change them when they're soiled. They don't last forever, and you can mitigate a lot of that health risk of bacteria buildup or whatever just by making sure you're using a clean mask. So a lot of people have just one mask, which is fine. But if we're going to be wearing them for a long time, you should probably have extras. I always have a bunch in my car because I forget them, or they don't fit right, or they're soiled. It just depends on the situation. But yeah, that's definitely going to make life a lot easier. Get a proper mask that is comfortable, breathable, fits well, and make sure you're practicing good hygiene when you're handling your mask to mitigate health risks. And then I would just say, wash your hands and keep taking care of each other by taking care of yourself and keeping your viral droplets to yourself. Hope you guys all stay safe out there. Bye.